We are now talking to comic book writer and creator of Wynonna Earp, Beau Smith. What's going on, Beau?
Oh, just taking it easy here, enjoying some of your all's show that I listen to a little bit ahead of time. So I've got something new to discover, new to check in on.
Well, I love the accents, that's for sure. What kind of accent do you have right now?
You mean it's not the same as yours?
Well, if it's the same as mine, if I have the same accent as you, man, I'd be ready to go out in Texas and do my little clogging or something like that. So how are you doing, man? How are you?
West Virginia.
Go ahead.
It's good. It's a West Virginia accent. It's semi-south, so it's more of a twang than a southern drawl.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I love southern accents, that's for sure. Tennessee women are for me, that's for sure. Anyways, as you guys know, we are talking to very well-known comic book writer and creator of Wynonna Earp, Beau Smith. Beau, how are you and your family doing with this pandemic right now?
Well, for me, it's not too much of a change. I've been writing comics for 34 years, so I'm used to stiff-arming society from afar, so it's not too bad. But my wife, she's open arms to everybody. It's driving her nuts. She wants to hug and touch, and she likes to know what people are feeling and stuff. And I'm a little bit on the other end of the spectrum there. So for me, it's not big of a change. For her, though, it is. And she spent a lot more time with me here in the last few months than in our 34 years of marriage. So a little tough on her.
As you guys know, again, we are talking to comic book writer and creator of Wynonna Earp, Beau Smith. Now, Beau, you've been writing comics for over 30 years. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to write comics, or where you went to school, and what drove you to start writing comics.
It's basically, I'm by no stretch of imagination, I'm putting myself in this kind of a class, but it must have been like when Michael Jordan first touched a round ball and was just drawn to it. When I was a kid, probably 4 years old, saw a comic book, and there was something about static pictures and these word balloons that mesmerized me. And, you know, I always liked TV, always liked movies, but there was something about a comic book with pictures and words that just talked to me. So I've been doing this on and off since grade school. In fact, with Wynonna Earp, I actually created that probably when I was in grade school. Grade school, junior high, high school, college. I went to Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia, my hometown. And it's just something it's always driven me and still does, even at my elderly state now.
So your passion for the writing of comic books, did it come through the actual, maybe the movies that came with it, the actual comic books before that, like old comic books, or were you like a great drawer right away? Did you have a talent to draw, and maybe you said, all right, I'm going to turn this into something with comic books? What was your path like for that, and how was it, I guess, discovered, inherited, however you want to call it?
I thought I was an artist first, but to be real honest with you, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. And about ninth grade, I realized that, and I said, well, you know, I'm going to start just focusing on the writing part. And to be honest with you, that's the way to go, because as a writer in comic books, you're the actor, director, cinematographer, producer. You have complete control of everything. Because when I write a script, it's in full script, much like a screenplay, and I tell everybody what to do. The artist what to draw, what the characters are going to be doing, what props they're going to be, whatever. It's a real control freak thing, because you're in complete control. Other than the editor bouncing stuff off of you, it's a great place to be creatively.
As you guys know, we are talking to comic book writer and creator of Wynonna Earp, Beau Smith. Now, Beau, I have never watched your show, Wynonna Earp. A matter of fact, Jillian reached out to me and she said that she's the biggest fan of your show. She absolutely adores your show and your comic books. She's absolutely the hugest fan that you've ever had, and I'll tell you that. And she told me, "Have you never watched sci-fi?" And I've watched sci-fi. I like sci-fi movies. I like fictional movies. So the other day I actually popped on something on YouTube and I watched a couple of clips of your show. So I'm actually going to watch from season 1 all the way to the new season 4, because I want to understand what the story is about. So how did you create this book, this story of Wynonna Earp? Because I saw so many different things going on in this clip. I was like, what the heck is going on? So tell us a little bit about how you drew this up and how the story came about.
Ever since I was a kid, not only with comic books, but I've been an unofficial historian of the Old West. I've always loved it. The Old West didn't last very long, but for the period that it did, it's crazy. You know, I grew up in a time when cowboys were on, there were probably 17 to 18 different shows on, only 3 networks. So that was it. Now, I thought Wyatt Earp and his 2 brothers that were in the gunfight at the OK Corral were amazing, because I had 2 brothers as well. So I was always writing stories about me and my brothers. And of course, you got to remember, I was in grade school, so we were fighting dinosaurs, Frankenstein, Wolfman, because again, monsters were another big thing when I was a kid. And as I got older and got into comic books, as far as the business part, which is probably about 1987, I wanted to take this and find a way to modernize it to make it work today, because Western comics are not in vogue like they were when I was a kid. So I had to modernize it. So I had her be the great-great-granddaughter of Wyatt Earp. And instead of fighting Frankenstein, Wolfman, things like that, she's still fighting monsters, but they're the criminal underworld of monsters. I mean, just because you've got criminals in regular life that are either selling meth, robbing banks, things like that, why not a paranormal underworld where they're doing the same thing, only they just happen to be a vampire, a werewolf, a monster, a demon, whatever. So she's a part of a branch of U.S. Marshals called Black Badge Division, and they're the freak finders, the Halloween hunters, the ones that go after the monsters that have committed crimes. And they do everything that U.S. Marshals do. Put them in witness protection if they have to, put them in jail, put them in the dirt, whatever it takes. So that was my thing, and I wanted to be a bit of gender bender, where instead of a great-great-great-grandson of Wyatt Earp, I made it a granddaughter, and the fact that would be different, and it put a little different quirk on it.
And it's a big hit.
That's kind of how
it's a big hit.
It's been a very big cult hit, and the show is postmodern Western horror, comedy, action, thriller. It's got everything, so there's a genre for everybody. So no matter what kind of movie or television show or book that you like, we've got a little bit of that in our small, low-budget Canadian production.
Well, I will say this. I am a huge country Western guy. I grew up with my grandfather. He taught me John Wayne. I watched Ronald Reagan in movies. I mean, Ronald Reagan, the president of the United States.
I'm sure a lot of people don't even know he was an actor.
I was named after Errol Flynn. My name is Errol Flynn. You know, Errol, I was named after Errol Flynn. So I watched a lot of... Yes. So I was named after Errol Flynn. So he was in a lot of country Western movies as well. So I had the Captain Blood and Robin Hood. I mean, those weren't country Western movies, but those are movies that everybody knows who Errol Flynn is. But I was named after, and also I'm a huge Tombstone fan. Love Tombstone. My favorite movie of all time with with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer. I'll Be Your Huckleberry, to Sean Elliott. I mean, Paxton. I mean, that was one of the best movies I've ever seen. And I actually went to see that movie in the movie theater with my mother. I love country Western movies. So telling me that this TV show is kind of like a little bit of country Western into a little sci-fi, and I love Wolfman. I love Dracula, Count Dracula. I you know, it's funny. I never even heard of this show, And now that you're telling me a little bit about it, I'm absolutely going to watch it from season 1 all the way to the new season 4. I'm going to be your big fan, and we're going to get you on the show again. But Jillian told me you're a huge sports fan. That's what she told me.
Yep.
And
yep. That and the great outdoors both. Yeah, always have been.
And she also told me you were a Chicago Bears fan. And so I want to know.
1963.
There you go. Ooh. So wow. 1963. And I'll tell you this right now. I've watched a little bit of Chicago. 63. 1963. So you're getting a little up there in age as well as I am. I'm 38 years old, and I feel old myself. So I'll tell you, my neck's falling off. My arms are falling off. I'm sitting over here. I've got an epidural in my neck. So as you know, as you get older, you just start wearing and tearing. So there you go. I know you're a huge Bear fan. So my question to you is, going into this season with the whole COVID-19, Mitchell Trubisky, this is a make-or-break year for him and the Chicago Bears. Where do you see the Bears this year, especially with that defense?
The defense, as almost always, not really worried about. I think they are going to take their own, especially with Quinn on there now, with him and Khalil Mack. I mean, that's just, I'm salivating thinking about that. As far as Mitch at quarterback, and you got Foles now in there, I think they're going to be good for each other. And the bottom line is, I quit throwing the remote at the television during Bears games years ago because it was making my tension rise too much. So I said, I'm going to enjoy every minute I get, especially out of this COVID season. I want to enjoy every second I can get out of it. And I think it's going to fall over that. I think we've got two choices. We're either going to be a 500 team, or we are going to be the worst spoilers you've ever seen in that division. There is a really, really good chance with that defense and those two quarterbacks that we could end up being number one in the division or ruin it for everybody else, especially the Packers and the Vikings, who I have to spit every time I say those two names. I think we can ruin the season for those two. So yeah, I think we're either more likely, realistically, probably about 500. But the creative writer in me wants that. I want the Vikings and the Packers to open their front door and find a bag of dog crap on fire every week that they've got to stomp out.
So a lot of Bears fans I was arguing with on social media last year that aren't a big fan of their head coach right now, Matt Nagy. He was great the first year, I think a well-deserving coach of the year, but regressed the second year, his offense as a whole. But my argument was the fact that a lot of those receivers and offensive linemen overperformed in 2018, and then they went back to normal kind of in 2019. Do you feel the same way about Nagy as a play caller and as a head coach, that he really doesn't deserve as much criticism as he gets?
I don't think he deserves as much criticism. I think that, and again, I'm not privy to what goes on in the locker room and the meetings and stuff, but I truly feel like in his first season, they should let him go. If he's got something crazy, let him go with that. He's got a team of talented people on offense now that he can do that with. If he is let free to do some of these wild, wacky, kind of crazy things, I think they can be similar to Kansas City and Philadelphia with the style that they play. I just hope they let him go. If he tries to remain a standard there of coaching, I think that's throwing a gift of his away.